push the tabs back. Open the door to about maybe 45 degrees. Lift straight up. Go ahead and set this off to the side. Oh, one more thing. If you want to pull apart the door, we have 6 screws, and you can remove this back panel. Then you'll be able to access all the glass on the inside of the door. All right, go ahead and set this off to the side. All right, so we're gonna pull out our oven racks. Like I said, we're trying to get down to this bottom plate so we can gain access to that heating element. I'll set these out to the side. So we have 2 screws on the bottom portion of our cabinet liner. If you remove those 2 screws, you'll be able to pull off this bottom panel. You want to use a flathead screwdriver. In some cases, it may be loose enough to where you can use your hand, or you can, if it is super tight, you can loosen it up with your flathead and just remove it by hand from there. All right, so we have those 2 screws out. In order to pull off this bottom panel, we have to lift it up from the rear first. There is basically like a lip that's basically holding this bottom panel. So we're going to angle it out from the back and pull it straight up. So this is the lip I was referring to. I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. All right, so with our panel removed, it exposes our hidden bake element. To remove our hidden bake element, there are 4 screws. We have 2 in the front, and we also have 2 in the rear. After we remove those screws, we're not going to pull the element out. We're going to then go to the back and then pull out that back panel, disconnect the wiring there. Then that will allow us to remove that bake element, which should be the same for our broil element as well. We do have 2 screws in the back. We also have 2 screws going through our looks like retaining brackets for that broil element. All right, so we have our convection fan in the back, which this cover is just held in by 2 screws, one at the top and one at the bottom. You can remove that and gain access to that cooling fan. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these screws. Let's go ahead and gain access. Well, let's go ahead and loosen up our connection for our bake element. All right, so there go our last screw for the broil element. I'm looking at it and I see what I'm gonna do is go ahead and leave our retention clips on there, our retaining brackets for our broil element, because I don't want the broil element to fall down if I move those 2 screws. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove this back panel for the fan. Remove this cover for the fan. Go ahead and pull off our fan blade. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this nut on the front of our fan blade, so we can go ahead and get that out of there. Now this nut is reverse thread. All right, so I just got it loose. Just pull it right off. All right, so if you look at the opening where your fan blade goes onto your shaft, there is a small little cutout or a small little space there, so it helps with the alignment of that shaft. All right, so now that we removed our fan motor, I have noticed to the top left corner, we have our temp probe coming in, and we also have our vent coming out the top as well. In order to gain access to remove that temperature sensor, you will have to pull off that back panel. So let's go ahead and turn the unit around so we can go ahead and gain access to those components. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this bottom panel so we can go ahead and remove our connectors from our components that we had in our oven. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those removed. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back with you. All right, so now that we have that last screw out, you wanna be very, very careful whenever you remove this panel because it could cut you. At the bottom, there are some tabs that the panel are locked into. You have to lift up and then you will pull it out. And you slide it down. All right, so we have our panel removed. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and start identifying our parts. All right, so with our panel removed, it does give us access to all of our wiring. As I stated before, you have to take this panel off. We have our connectors for our bake elements here at the bottom. We have it looks like a peach and a yellow. We have for our broil, we have that same peach color with a blue. We have our fan motor. Let's go ahead and pull that off. Have a white wire and a pink wire. And then we have 3 screws going through the cabinet. All right, so I got my last screw out. All right, so there goes our fan motor. So I'm going to set this off to the side. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this screw and go ahead and pull out our temp sensor. What we need to do first, you have these 2 purple wires coming into this quick connect. Let's remove this quick connect, remove this screw, and go ahead and pull out our temp sensor. All right, so after I remove the screw, you have to rotate it. That'll pull the other tab out and just slide it right out. All right, so let's go ahead and remove our connectors we have for our light bulb. It appears as if we have 2 going to it. I believe this is like a violet, light purple type color, and then we have a solid white. And then in order to actually remove this, you have to go around the front, which I will show you guys how to do that. Just what else we have here? We have our terminal block, which you just remove 3 screws, but I think you guys can handle that. We have our counterbalance right here, 2 screws. You can remove that as well. I'm not sure why you would need to remove it. And then we also have our latch motor, which has 4 wires going to it, 2 screws as well. Let's go ahead and pull those off. I have a solid white. It's like a brown, purplish type. Like a peach color going to the left to that micro switch. And a gray going to the micro switch as well. All right, so we have our 4 wires removed. We have these 2 screws, as I stated before. Go ahead and pull those off. All right, so our latch motor is free. If you're looking at the top portion of this latch motor, there's a rod that goes through it, and the rod has like a little dip. So you have to pull it out, angle it up, and slide it right off of that rod. And we have our latch motor. Let's go ahead and set this off to the side. In order to remove this top panel, there are 7 screws that we will have to remove to gain access to the wiring to our UI board. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those screws off and be right with you. All right, last screw. Let's go ahead and remove this. You do want to be careful when removing this panel. I believe I said it before, but the edges are pretty sharp. You don't want to cut yourself trying to get this off. There we go. So it should drop right down. That does expose our blower fan and also our UI board. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the unit around and go ahead and pull out our heaters and show you guys how to remove that light bulb. All right, so now that we have the unit turned around, let's go ahead and remove all of our oven components, our light, and our bake and broil elements. All right, so let's first start by removing this light bulb. What we have, there's a bracket that goes around it that's mounted to the unit. You have to slide the bracket to the side. Doesn't matter which side you go, but it just has to come off the indentation that's on the actual lens. Once you remove that, you'll be able to pull off the lens. You want to push that light through that opening, the light socket through the opening, and you're able to pull it right out. All right, so now we can go ahead and pull out our broil element. We have these two brackets at the top. We have to remove those brackets. There we go. All right, so now we can go ahead and pull our broil element right out of the back of the unit. All right, and since we already disconnected our bake element as well, we can go ahead and remove that. Just slide it right out of the opening. All right, we're gonna set both of these to the side. All right, so we have those components removed. Only thing we have inside the oven, we have the very bottom panel, we'll just use as a heat shield for our bake element. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove these two screws and see if we can't get this cooktop off. All right, so here goes our whole cooktop. I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. Now we have our zones exposed. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and pull off these two zones so we can go ahead and see how this generator board looks underneath. All right, so taking a look at our two zones, we have these two brackets on the sides that have these circles going through them. These circles are there to lock in this clip on the sides of each of the zones. Now you do want to know where you remove those clips from those circles on that bracket, because you don't want those zones to be misaligned whenever you put the cooktop back on. All right, so after you get it down, you know where you removed it from. In order to remove the zone, you will angle it out. You have 3 wires that's locking it into this generator board. All right, let's go ahead and remove those 3. We have a red connector, a white connector, and we have 2 blues, which the 2 blues are going to a sensor on the inside of this zone. It is there to detect the pot size and tell the generator board to, hey, we have the correct size, so we can go ahead and start heating. All right, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove the rest of these connectors on this side of the generator, and also I'm going to move to this to the top zone as well, get that removed so we can go ahead and take a look at the whole generator board as a whole. All right, so I actually had to remove these 2 zones so I can show you guys how everything is connected between these 2 generator boards. So let's just take a look at the left one first and see what we have, see how everything is connected. All right, so just taking a look at this left board, it appears as if we have a communication wire that's going to the right side board as well. And coming from the right side board is going to our display board. We have power in. We have 2 black and 2 red on both boards. All right, so both generator boards appear to have a fan. The fan is there to cool off the electrical components on that generator board. All right, so this fan, it activates whenever one of the zones are energized. The 2 generator boards are mounted to this panel. It appears as if there are 2 screws on each side. Let's go ahead and remove those and see what we have up underneath here. All right, so taking a look, we have our door latch, which actually runs to the back and is mounted to the motor. We have 2 wires coming into our light switch. If you want to remove it, of course, you would just pull those 2 out and you would just fish it through the front. We also have our 2 venting areas. It appears that's where the air is pulled up through that fan that's pushed onto them generator boards. All right, so before I turn this unit around, go to the back of the unit, I'm going to go ahead and remove my blower motor. In order to remove the blower motor, you have these 4 screws that secures it to the unit. All right, so before you remove that blower motor, you want to make sure that you have it secured from the back. Right now I have my hand just holding it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out my 4 screws. All right, there we go. So we have our blower motor. We have 2 wires going to it. Let's go ahead and disconnect those. I just pull them right off. There we go. All right, so now that I pulled this blower motor off, let's go ahead and take a look at our board. Let's identify the connectors that we have on the board. Let's go ahead and get them disconnected, because I'm going to show you guys how to pull it off if you need to replace it. So looking to the right side of this, looks like it's a power board. You have your bake, broil, and then you have your incoming power. Let's go ahead and pull that off. All right, so looking at our bottom connector, it appears as if we have, looks like we have a common and a neutral. We have a connector for our oven light, convection fan, temperature probes, and our door lock and the lock motor. Well, let's go ahead and get this pulled off. All right, so here we have a communication wire that goes between both boards. You don't have to remove that. You can leave that on. You can still pull out the whole board. As the same with these two top connectors as well. You can leave them on whenever you try to pull out the board. We have 3 wires. These are coming from our generators. We have those 4 zones up front on that cooktop. We go ahead and pull that off. All right, so we have our board isolated. We have 5 screws that are securing this board to the unit. I'm gonna go ahead and pull those 5 screws out, then I'll be able to remove that board. All right, last screw. And then what you have to do, you have to angle it out, pull it straight up. Here's our board. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. Last thing I'm gonna do is go and pull off this top panel just to show you guys how to replace that. All right, so to pull off our top panel, we have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. But the first thing I'm gonna do is unclip my wire so it's not holding us back whenever we get our screws removed. Let's go ahead and start removing those screws. All right, pull out this last screw. And our front panel, top panel, comes off. All right, so we have this thing torn down all the way to our wiring. If you ever have to replace it, it will come as one whole assembly. All right, so it looks like another successful teardown.